Okay, what about now? Can you guys hear me? Holla if you hear me. Let me know. I'm gonna go back to that article. So, man, I've been going all in, and people probably didn't hear me, but let me just talk about some of the things that we have said. So, this week, it's Wednesday, is Hump Day, and we wanted to spend a little time talking about, the education issues that drive in our community. Recently, Propel, we had a press conference. As I go back to the article, because the article highlighted the 48 reward schools, which is a huge celebration, but it never made mention of the opportunities that we have on the opposite end, which are the priority schools. And we have parents like Laquetta, who's on here, Miss Moore, Miss Evans, Miss Moffin, Miss Gordon. We got even a new cohort member is in our fellowship now, came out, and a host of other parents who came out just to deliver a message to make sure, both sides of the story were being told. Like, we definitely need to be celebrating 48 because that's a huge number, but we also need to acknowledge that we have 19 schools. Which is actually the most we have ever had if you add the ones that have been closed in the last 3 or 4 years. And so record high number of reward schools, record number of priority schools, which reward schools operate in the top 5% academically with growth. And then our priority schools operate in the bottom 5%. And so one of the things, thank you, Miss Fitzgerald. Good morning, Tammy. And so one of the things that I was doing, and I'll go back to it just briefly, let me pull this through. I was really going over some of the results that we had as we look at our polling that was done by Nashville Public Education Fund. And just a quick highlight, it just says 60% of respondents said they felt the city does not prioritize children and youth, and 58% said they felt the city doesn't prioritize opportunities for children and youth. Simultaneously, 47% of respondents with children said the city is moving in the wrong direction, which is a 15-point increase from last year. And it was interesting to see the polling data, because as we're talking to parents each and every day, as we just wrapped up our press conference, we know the city is heading in the right direction, and that should definitely be celebrated. But we also know in Black, Brown, and poor communities that it's been continuously heading in the wrong direction, academically and with growth. And we just got to make sure we highlight both of them. And so, thank you guys for joining in on that. And I wanted to preach, and just really bring out that poll. One of the things I want to do, and I hopefully the sound is working. I'm gonna try it again, and just guys let me know. But I wanted to highlight the interview that our parents had, with News Channel 5, News Channel 4, and as well as NPR, I believe. And so they were able to communicate a point of view. We had one of our parents who actually has a child that attends one of the low performing schools. We had some families who were zoned to some of the low performing schools, but have made the decision not to go there, and just really hearing their perspective on the why. Like, why is it important to them? Why do they make the decisions they make? And how do we work with the school principals to right some of the wrongs academically that these kids have been experiencing? And so, Ms. Fitzgerald, let me know if you can hear it. Hopefully you can. And if not, we'll try to make some changes. Let's see. Okay.
When I shop here at BF Myers, I know I'm getting the best price.
But the service I get from here, I don't always look at the price because to me, price isn't everything. I mean, in today's world, if you can get great customer service and people that do what they say and what they promise and what they deliver.
A group of parents is calling on Metro schools to make policy changes to help priority schools start succeeding. News Channel 5's Cole Johnson's live at MMPS headquarters this morning. And Cole, schools are labeled a priority when they underperform. And as these parents point out, many of them are in historically Black communities.
Good morning, Amy. And this comes after Director of Schools, Dr. Adrian Battle, was recently just celebrating the district having 48 top-tier reward schools. It also comes at a time where the state is recognizing or recently calling the district an advancing district. And despite that, this group, Nashville Propel, says there are 17 elementary schools where at least 90% of the kids are not at the level they need to be with ELA or math. At a news conference, they said more than half the schools on the 2022 priority list have been there since 2015. Propel's goal is to team up with principals to come up with a plan, getting at least half the kids to read at their grade level by the end of this school year.
The most serious crime being committed under the guise of education in children is the children who go from kindergarten to high school without the possibility of attending a school that can prepare them for life. We have thousands of students who spend their entire school career in a school that performs in the bottom 5% of the state of Tennessee.
Metro Schools says they'll be working with each priority school to make sure their success strategies are going into effect. We're live this morning at MMPS headquarters. Cole Johnson, News Channel 5.
You know, I've been
And so, as you guys seen the interview, I think one of the things that a lot of our parents who watched the video highlighted was the lack of a plan to see how do we get those students who are trapped in underperforming schools from the time they enter school in kindergarten and by the time they leave school in the 12th grade, which, as we always say, like, we just think that's criminal if you have, over 100 schools. And out of all those schools, you have some that are just it's a deficit academically, where if you have 100 students, maybe 5 of them are only reading on grade level, maybe less. So these are just some of the things that we look at and figure out, like, how do we work with the school district, one, for them to create a plan and to really communicate that out to parents who may or may not know how well or not well the school is doing. I know the reward status, when the school hits reward status, parents really know it's a celebration, it's a letter, it's multiple ways of communication. But a lot of parents that we're talking to who have kids who attend these priority schools, 93% of them don't know. And we just got to figure out, how do we do a better job with making parents as partners, making the community as partners. I just left a community partnership meeting with Belshire, which is on the list, and it was refreshing to hear the principal convene a meeting of community partners, but also acknowledge and address, where the school is academically, and having his own plan, but also asking for support. And I just think when you look at Nashville, and we're thinking about bringing a Titan Stadium, we're thinking about spending $2 billion or more. Right now, the price tag is $2 billion on a stadium, but we have teachers who say they're underfunded, even though they're the highest paid in the state. We have families who are struggling to make it financially in this city. And right now, the biggest conversation is, how do we fund a $2 billion stadium? And so these are the things that, we're addressing, that we're talking about. Yep, love it and true. Hey, Sugar Plum, feels weird saying that on air, but thank you guys for tuning in. And just look forward to us. This is not going to be a long day this week at Natural Propel. And some of you guys have been involved. We are hitting it every day. Monday, We did our press conference yesterday. We had a campaign call where a lot of our fellowship alum just getting their perspective on some things. Today, we'll be out in the community. Thursday, we have our fellowship. Friday, we'll be out in the community along with Saturday and Sunday. And so this is a long week for us, and we want to make sure like we're coming strong. We got some really big plans. And Tammy says no stadium. And I think the sentiment of parents, community people, people who were born and raised in Nashville, it is hard to think about a stadium when we got to think about where we're living at if the rent continues to go up or the property tax drives you to the point where you may have to think about selling because you may be on a fixed income. And so, I'm still thinking this out myself, Tammy, but I think where I know where I'm leaning, and the leaning part is definitely no stadium. But would love to hear, from the powers to be. I heard from a parent last Thursday, and it tore me up, and it still sticks with me right now. She said, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm working, I'm providing a stable housing for my kids and making sure they get to school. And she was like, in Nashville, that's all she got time for right now. And when you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like she is trying to figure out the basic of the basic. And she may not show up the way that a school may say she needs to show up because that's all she got. And we got to think about, is that a her problem? Or is that like a systems problem that's creating an environment where parents feel like, $15 an hour 6 years ago was creme de la creme. $15 an hour now, when I look at some of these signs like KFC, is just it's not enough when your rent is $1,400 for the same place that used to be $500. And so this is a journey as we even think about, education is important, and we have to make sure we hold our decision makers accountable. And so even next year, you have the Metro Council elections that are coming up. You have the mayor, the council at large. Later this year in November, we got I want to say the congressional races and the gubernatorial races. And so this is an opportunity. If you feel like the school system is not going the way it needs to go, if you feel like the city is not going the way, if you have never said anything, it is time to say something now. And I see Tammy saying it is Governor Lee's fault. Ms. Sugar Plum says exactly, it's nothing. Like we gotta, yeah, it's nothing when you look at, food costs. Like I used to get, my progressive soup, for 125, it done went up to 250, and that's double the price. And again, as we think about our school system's budget continues to go up. And so the reason we hold a lot of accountability to our schools is because while our families struggle to make it through, our school budget can never go down. It can only remain the same and go up. And the city has done a good job of making sure the school system is fully funded. And I think as a school system, when you look at like our priority schools, and we went over it, it's, schools like Ida B. Wells in East Nashville, Tom Joy in East Nashville, Bellshire kind of in Northeast Nashville, Pearl Cone made his way on the list, Antioch Middle, Madison Middle, which of course is in Madison. Like these are schools in predominantly Black and brown communities that are not doing well. And if you think about it, if they don't do well and they grow up and they have kids, like what does that mean for the community? When you have a kid who graduated from our school system, but they can't read or do math on grade level. Good morning, Creek. Yep, food, household supplies, clothes, basic things are so expensive. Tammy says, Nashville students, this is how much I care about Nashville kids. My daughter put my grandkids out of Ruby Major last week, but I still want to be involved. Pool, yep, I got what you were saying, Tammy. I mean, we met a family in the Tom Joy community who poured their kids and are homeschooling the best they could because they were treated so poorly at the school and disrespected. They said, oh, we just not going to send our kids to this school. And so we're working with them to come up with a different solution. Maybe it's another school. Maybe it's holding a meeting with the principal to really express how they felt. But we got to do something different. And that's what we're going to be doing. So this week is a busy week for us. If you're, been a part of Propel, reach out to Torvis, Tier, and Thomas. They definitely got a schedule of things that are going on. Like I said, today we'll be in the community if it's not too hot. Tomorrow we'll be working with our Cohort 17 fellowship parents. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we'll be back in these streets. And so thank you guys for joining in. I'm not going to be too long today because it's work to do, but thank you guys so much. Thank you for the parents who jumped on last night. I'm not going to say anything about it, but we got some really big things planned. And so I look forward to building and growing this with you guys. And we will see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you guys for joining in.